I know. And he can't either, so he's not gonna be able to help you with the notes at all.
I just did a fair shoe. Jesse. Beautiful. Thank you. I guess I better put the sign up. She got it.
Let me see your image.
Good, all went well, so. And I tried to bring her this morning to work through checks and it did not go well, so I
Did not go well.
leaving her at home was probably the better option.
We'll just process this on.
Sure.
Yes, very nice.
Are you gonna put my name on
I
it too?
am.
Thank you.
That's real hungry though.
Happy to be here. How'd you find this one? How'd you find this
Parents
one?
around here shrinking and the kids are
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of us do too, there's something wrong with all of us.
Oh, I have to read
You
it.
gotta ask. These two shoes.
Okay, I better read it before I have
Over
it.
there.
When we get to delegations and comments,
Yeah, so like more like Polynesian Hawaiian.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
Sure.
Were they just designed from like students or?
yeah, so this are how.
These ones are
After you're gonna hear a presentation.
Oh, okay, all right. I'll just wait then.
I just shared.
Sure.
Dan's not even here.
Not on this.
Not on this.
You know what, so
I'm gonna lose your.
I think it's great. I had a friend recently posted on Facebook. I have another sticky notes, thank you notes should go by the wayside. She's like, I don't like getting them, and I don't know what to do with them, and I don't like sending them. I read them. She did say that she has her kids do them and she thinks it's good for kids to learn, but she's like, as adults, can we just stop doing this?
You know, my mother, she's still so nice for.
Yeah, they moved me, Gina. I can see
So
that.
Alice Gloria.
I mean, Cynthia.
These
They
two
thought
kids.
Gina, they thought Gina and I needed to be separated, I guess.
Relay for life.
Wow,
And
me too.
so the other one split them up, I think, I'm okay with.
I don't know what they're even thinking, but.
I might change fairly quickly after that.
I can, yeah, you want me to cast from
We
this?
just have to.
I didn't know if you wanted the agenda up or not.
Plus, I think it's kind of. So,
It's not really a
Would it pop up?
Yeah.
Just gonna shut off the lights and. It's just your kids.
It's extended.
Like they're already-
Let me just plug it in there.
We'll just turn it off.
That is an amazing picture.
Minus one.
Thanks, I don't even know what it is.
It's your family.
Well, your kids,
Is it?
I think it's short one.
minus Everett.
Oh, yeah.
Minus the
There's
short
another
kid.
one there too, somewhere.
I completely understand the inability to get them all.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's always one of them's crying or something.
No,
We just
that
grab
is
them
the
now.
only
Can you-
Yeah, what was it always sitting down?
They probably
I know, I
saw it,
didn't
absolutely, there's no chance
Face
that all of us
probably
smile at the camera and say.
Yeah, we're blaming him for all our technology problems.
There it is. We got it.
Okay, 7:01, let's get started. Let roll call reflect that Deb is absent. And we'll stand for pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Get a motion to approve the agenda. Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Great. Ready for our district audit presentation?
Yes. James, can you hear us? James, looks like you're muted right now. Can you unmute and visit with us?
With the sign board?
Am I up and running now?
Yeah, yes, we are.
Perfect.
Believe it or not, this is my first time at doing this. Okay, so we have two different versions of presentation. We have the short version and the not too long version. Which one do you want to do? Because the one's a little more in depth, the other one's just summary.
Giving his opinion, I think we're safe on the short version. You guys are good there.
So let's do the short version.
Okay, I'll get started. So there are three primary purposes of an audit. The first one is to ensure that the financial statements are in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. We have issued a clean opinion on Sheridan County School District Number 3's financial statements. The second is to assess deficiencies in the district's internal controls. And like all small districts, segregation of duties is an issue. You just don't have enough people, and it's not worth hiring enough people to properly segregate your duties. So what we do is we audit on the premise of risk assessment. So what we do is we assess the risk where the school district is vulnerable. Your revenues, we confirm nearly 100% of your revenues with state agencies and the county. So there's very, very little risk with the revenue. So the risk is on the disbursement side. And that's where we ask the board to take an active role in that internal control. So you control the purse strings by reviewing the bills and in writing and signing the check. So that's our single most important control over the disbursements. And the third and one of the most important aspects of an audit is assessing the district's compliance with all laws, contracts, grant agreements, ADM requirements, school lunch requirements, state statutes, and internal revenue service requirements. And we have given the district a clean bill of health. We found no issues with your compliance with those items. The fourth I present, I don't know if you folks have access to this summary that I'm reading off. I think, Greg, I think I sent you this. Do we have this? Is this?
They do have it, we shared it with them.
Okay. So on this summary, what I've done is listed the district's cash accounts. I think it's important for the school board just to know where we're setting cash wise as of June 30th. And you see the general fund cash, the special revenue, major maintenance, capital projects, depreciation reserves. And what I do is I total that up. So the total cash reserves of the districts last year were $3,668,000. That's up from the previous year by $192,000. So we had a slight increase in our cash. Our general fund is still sitting below the 30% threshold, so we're in good shape. Depreciation reserve is getting pretty significant, $1,514,000. General fund cash ended the year at $996,000. What I'm going to do, without having you turn to specific pages, I'm just going to highlight just some financial information for you. So we have the statement of revenues and expenses for our governmental funds. The district's governmental funds are the general fund, the special revenue fund, which accounts for your grants, major maintenance, depreciation reserve, and capital projects, and our capital projects fund. I just want to point out your general fund, we had revenues last year of $3,666,000. $2,941,000 of that was from state and federal agencies. Tax revenues, county tax revenues were $663,000. And then under our general fund expenses, that was $3,514,000. So we had an excess of $152,000 of revenues over expenses. So again, a very healthy general fund. The revenue streams meeting our current obligations. We did transfer $420,000 out, the bulk of that being to the depreciation reserve. We transferred last year $325,000 of that to depreciation reserve. And then I just want to point out your special revenue funds, so your grant funds. We had $832,000 of revenue, $833,000 of expense. So we had expenses in excess of revenue of $614,000 within that fund. And then on your school lunch fund, we had food sales of $40,000. Our operating expense of the food service fund was $143,000. So we had a deficit of $102,000. We transferred $110,000 in from our general fund. So we were basically at a break even after the transfer. Our rental revenues were $25,850. Our expenses $32,000. So our expenses exceeded our revenue by about $6,800. I'm just going to touch on a couple other items. Your budgetary comparison schedule. One of the things is state statutes require that we examine to make sure your budget was properly adopted, properly amended, and that there were no material over expenditures. And that's for your general fund and special revenue funds. And we found you to be in compliance with state statutes in both of those funds in regards to your budget. Just one other thing, maybe two other things that I want to point out. The first one is the schedule of revenue for your governmental funds, so your general fund and special revenue funds. Your general fund, local sources, so this is the 25 mil, was $582,000 last year. The 6 mil was 101, and our foundation revenues, special education, and intergovernmental revenues were $2,941,000. Under our general fund expenditures, we expended $1,635,000 in instruction. And I always like to point people, this is actually the pages 31 and 32 of the financial statement. Something that I think it's important important for school boards and administrators to look at. It breaks down by instruction, instructional support, general support, the amount you're paying in salaries and wages, benefits, supplies, services, and capital outlay. So you can see that in each one of those, the general fund and the special revenue fund. So again, instruction, you spent $1,635,000, instructional support, $218,000, and general support, $1,660,000. So again, a clean opinion issued on your financial statements. Your books and records were in tremendous shape. We spent about a half day out there doing preliminary work and less than 2 days to complete the audit. When we got there, Greg and Brenda had everything ready for us, so it was a very efficient audit process. We had scheduled 3 days to be out there, and we were there less than 2 days for the actual audit. So fantastic job by them. I think we're getting comfortable with each other, and I know Brenda said she's getting close to retiring, but we want to try to keep on to her as long as we can. So any questions or comments the school board would have for me?
James, with our one finding that is an annual conversation that we get to have at this point, what would a larger district, what would a perfect world look like in terms of the staffing process, et cetera, from the time something is requisitioned to the time that a check is issued?
So we have a checklist that we go through on internal controls that tells what a perfect internal control was, and it would literally, in your office, you're still a small district. We could probably get away with one extra person, but a lot of districts have decided that the extra cost of the administrative cost of that one extra person isn't worth that compliance issue, because all small districts have that finding, and no one cares. They all know that segregation of duties is an issue. And so what we try to do is recommend compensating controls, and compensating controls are the approval of journal entries. So say like Greg initiates a journal entry, or Brenda initiates a journal entry. Someone at a higher level has to authorize that journal entry or approve it. So usually what we have, to compensate is we have the superintendent approve those journal entries. And the same with bank reconciliation. Say Brenda or Greg does a bank reconciliation. Typically, we would have the superintendent or another administrative staff initial and approve that bank reconciliation. Because with segregation of duties, the problem is you have one person performing too many of the accounting functions. And so what we try to do is segregate those, and you can do that without hiring additional people. You have the people there to do it. And that's something that we can look at, is trying to implement those. But what we really try to emphasize is the approval of bills and the signing of checks, because that's the purse strings. That's the group that holds the key to solid controls. We just don't let anything escape, and that includes credit cards. That's become a big issue within the state of Wyoming. All of our cities and towns right now are going through audits by the Wyoming Department of Audit. They've picked up that they're not doing a very good job of scrutinizing the credit card bills. So the state has acknowledged it. We test that, and I can't recall. Do you guys just have one credit card there, or do you have multiple credit cards?
We have about 10.
About 10 of them, yeah. So again, that's an area, because the problem with the credit card is one is making sure you have invoices for each one of those credit card bills, which you guys do a good job of. But the second one is someone scrutinizing those bills. It's a little bit difficult to scrutinize a credit card that there might be 100 charges on in the course of a month. It's just a cumbersome process. So credit cards is a big focus at the state, and it's also a focus that we do, because we consider it a risk factor, so we test those credit cards. And again, we had no findings in those areas of credit cards. So we would think that your internal controls are pretty good. They just could be strengthened a little bit further by the review and approval of journal entries and bank reconciliations. So that'd be a recommendation we would have, potentially going forward. If we can discuss that a little bit more, at a future date also.
Thanks, James.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you for making the time to meet with us today. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
James.
Right, move on to the house presentation.
So again, Jonathan, Jennifer, and Cam. It's just been the trio who's been really helping this grow and pushing the house system together. But we've just got a quick little presentation about what we've been doing this summer and kind of what the future is with the house system. So let you take it away.
So first of all, we've done quite a bit, just even in the boardroom. We're just gonna cover these four, quick overview of student leadership initiatives, relationship building, mentorship opportunities, and activities planned for this year. And if you wanna go to the next slide. Really, our focus this year fits with this quotation. Leadership is about nurturing relationships and fostering an environment where everyone feels valued. It's about empowering others to rise and succeed together in our community. And this is what we really want the house system to epitomize.
Next one. And so what we've been doing this past summer and currently doing right now with student leadership. So every house has a head of house, a student head of house leader. And they have a lieutenant as well, in case things don't. In fact, we have a lieutenant here right now. And so we had summer meetings. We had the house leaders come this summer and have 3 meetings this summer. And they were really excited and really wanted to put forth a lot of effort to make this a successful year for the house system. And so during these meetings, of course, we talked about the house party that's happening tomorrow night, but also what our goals are for this year. And so we've got those in writing. We've got a lot of things that we're working on with them, but they are really excited. And we will talk a little bit about some of those things that we're going to do this year. We also have, not only that are they going to be student leaders there, but we have leadership virtual training that's starting next week with Ron Clark Academy. And so it's very short. We have about 4 or 5 times throughout the year that they'll be able to, if they're able to during school, during that time, because it's at different times, time zone out there as well, but have a Zoom with Ron Clark and their student leaders about different topics about what it means to be a leader in a house system. Good thing is it's also recorded for those who are not able to see it, so during house meetings and leadership house meetings, we'll be able to watch those and discuss those together. And we will be doing some student-led activities. Actually, pretty much everything is going to be student-led activities. And with our house system, we really want to make it a point it's student-led and staff-supported. And so we're trying to build that those leadership skills for those house leaders this year. And it's all about building community relationships. And in fact, now we have 2 elementary houses, and we'll talk a little bit about mentoring with that. And we'll have 6th grade student leaders as well for the first time this year, and pretty excited about that.
Yeah, so the building the strong communities, our kids, especially when we met this summer and the training that Jonathan and I went to, we learned a lot about building community partnerships. Ron Clark has one guy that specifically, that's his job. And we don't have that, but we're trying to empower our students, our student leaders. So one of the things that they talked about this summer, and a lot of them went out and did, was contacting local businesses and hoping to create a partnership with them. So we received some money, and then we have at least year-long, hopefully longer partnership with that business to where like when the Amazing Shake happens, they have things to go on out here and logos and stuff like that, and we kind of build that bridge with the community through that fact. The house party is a big thing. Jonathan's been working real hard on a lot of the house party stuff. I'm sure you guys have seen that. But that's not just for our school, it's not just like a welcome back. That is a community engagement activity. We are trying to make sure that not just parents are invited to that, but the entire community. They can come and they can see what our house system is about, and our student leaders are going to be in the gym ready to connect with community members as they come to that. And yeah, to add into that, we're encouraging our students to bring their family members as well. And our partnerships, businesses, things like that are also invited. And in the future, right, when we have our house meetings, our student-led house meetings, they will be brainstorming ideas for future community events. And again, like Jonathan said, that is student-led. Staff will support their ideas and give them ideas on it, but all the leadership and everything is coming from our students.
So we've already sort of talked about this a little bit, is mentorship opportunities. We have the beauty of being K-12 in one building. And so our kindergartners can look up to our seniors. And we have built into our house system, these 3 sister houses are mentor houses for this Cub house. So it allows us the opportunity to, when we do 7 through 12 activities, pulling in K-6 and having specific K-12 activities in which we're gonna have house members from here partnering specifically with students in that house. We're gonna be working with our 7 through 12 students to build them up as positive mentors, knowing that it might be a skill that not all of them have, and being able to really support the elementary students as we move forward.
And so some of the activities that are planned for this year, of course, we have our house party tomorrow night at 4 o'clock. Everybody's invited for that, but it's, the student leaders really have taken an active role in bringing this to life. They will have booths that represent or tables that represent their house, and just, especially for the 7th graders, because they're gonna be sorted tomorrow night. And so they're gonna be at their table, they're gonna have all the cool, awesome things, and they're gonna say, hey, we really want you in our house. They're already starting to build that relationship, so the 7th graders get really excited. I wanna be in house, he asked us, or I wanna be in house, hey, Wolf, and hopefully there won't be too many tears. But it's just kind of, the student leaders really wanted a way to connect with them. In fact, we have some of the student leaders who are writing postcards and sending them to the 7th graders throughout the summer, or sending messages, and there's just kind of seeing them out in public and say, hey, I really hope the Claude Destiny puts you in my house. So they're getting excited about that. But we also have community lunch, of course, and we want everybody to join us there. But each community lunch is going to be hosted by a house each month. And we are, so our first one is going to be House Koa, which is an elementary house. We don't even have students in that house yet. But the 3 teachers who are in that house have already taken upon that responsibility to start making it awesome, even before it even has even happened. But not only is so House Koa, and that's gonna be gratitude. So if you look at the Sources of Strength wheel, House Koa is gray. Well, gratitude is all about, or is generosity is all about, is the gray color. So they're gonna talk about generosity and have a little presentation, have the students talk about it. I was told last night that I have to sing, but we'll see if that happens. But they're gonna focus their community lunch on that subject. And so, well, I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be amazing, and every house after that is gonna have to step up and meet that as well. The mentorship, we talked about that. Panther Claus, which will be every Thursday from 3:30 to 4. In fact, we would like you guys to join us at some point for Panther Claw, because I think we only have 1 board member who is sorted, and we'd like to sort all of you, so you can be in the house as well. With Panther Claus, the first 3 Panther Claus of the month will just be 7 through 12. But the last one of the month will be an overall K through 12, so we get to come together as a whole school and celebrate each other. And we'll also talk about Student of the Month and what else? Student of the Month, and there'll be some other challenges and fun activities that we'll have a wheel that they can spin and get points and tickets and things like that. So we are again trying to expand our community partnerships. And you can't really see it right now, but board presentations, we are the first of many board presentations that you will get to enjoy this year. So because next month is House COA, the House COA student leaders, hopefully, and some of the teacher leaders will be here to give you a presentation. The next month will be another house, the next month will be another house, and it'll be a variety of ways. They may not even be here or can't make it, so we'll make a video. We'll show those, or they might come here, have a fun activity for you, or just kind of tell you all about their house and the fun things that they are doing that month and how the mentorship between the 7 to 12 and elementary are going. So we're pretty excited about that.
So our final thoughts, just to touch, a lot of you guys probably know, but we were lucky enough to present at the Principal Leadership Academy last week down in Laramie, and we got to present twice. So the first time we presented, our room was packed. And I think a lot of that was because when you look at the list of presentations, some of them are pretty general, some of them I even saw last year, it's good information, so they're presenting it twice. But they've never seen anything like ours. Like when they looked on there and they were like using a house system to build positive culture in your school, I'm sure a lot of them have never heard of anything like that. And so there was 70 some principals from across the state. Yeah, so we presented to 70-ish principals from all across the state about how building a house system in your school can build a positive culture. And so we gave them some information, some statistics and stuff like that, and then we also just presented like what we had done, which again, we're a small school and we haven't done a whole lot, but the feedback we're getting on what we have done has been awesome. We had a bunch of principals while we were there come talk to us after our presentation that were like, our school year is about to start, so maybe not this year, but next year, we're definitely gonna be contacting you, trying to get some information. Hopefully you guys can help us implement something like this. We actually had the elementary principal of the year come talk to us about that. And so it was really cool to see all the positive feedback and people just coming up to us and being like, your guys' presentation was awesome. So it really just kind of like shows us that what we're doing here is pretty awesome, pretty unique. Growth towards the future, we've kind of talked about that, what we're planning for this year. But the main thing to point out here is our house system is always growing, right? We are always looking towards the future. We're not going to get to a point where it's like, okay, we're good, we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing here, right? We are always trying to improve, we're always trying to grow and make it better for our kids every year. And last, we really wanted to thank you guys for your support as we've gone through this, right? This all started as a little tiny idea that we learned about at the PLA last year. And at that point, it was just kind of like hey, this would be cool. And now we're having principals from bigger schools around the state come and talk to us and say, this sounds awesome, you guys might need to help us here in the future.
Yeah, we even had some teachers from Ron Clark Academy who I've been in contact with over social media who are really interested in how we're doing the mentorship way of things. And so I've been gonna be sending them updates throughout the year. They're just kind of really curious on how we're doing it. A little small school from the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, which is pretty cool. But yeah, definitely thank you for your guys' support.
Yeah, I feel like all of this really cool stuff that's happened couldn't have happened without your guys' support. We also wanted to make sure, Jonathan said it earlier, but I will reiterate, house parties tomorrow, everybody's invited, it's gonna be awesome. Come if you can.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
So exciting.
And Dusty will get you back in the amazing shape too, so. Awesome.
That was fun.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, delegations, visitors, communications, and public comment. think we'll start with, we received a card. Would you like to read it?
This card is from Ian Andreen. It says, School District, Sheridan School District number 3. Thank you greatly for the scholarship you gifted me. I really appreciate it and it will help me in furthering my education. Sincerely, Ian Andreen. So,
That's so great. Do we have anybody online? Okay. Next we have the Holland girls.
Yay. I just want to talk about the library. I've been hearing a lot about how, we're gonna maybe partner with Sheridan Library to try and get some books in front of our kids that they might be more interested in reading. So I know it's more important to hear it from a student than from me, so I'm going to let Jessie take it from there. I suppose I could stand up. I think that it would be really good to get some more book content because we have a really good selection for, I would say, like A through 7th grade. But then from there, it's kind of like just not necessarily stuff that the kids are interested in. And I know that like there's stuff on computers and you can go to all the virtual libraries, but it's not exactly the same as picking up a physical copy of a book, because for me at least, I can read a physical copy of a book and give you an amazing summary about it. I can write an essay about it. Now on a computer, I don't have the same physical touch of it, or my senses don't connect to it as much, which means my brain doesn't make the same connections, and the summary probably wouldn't be half as good if I'm honest. So I think that just having the physical copies of books and stuff that the kids are interested in could, for one, improve our English scores worlds, and for two, I think it would interest kids in English and the reading world a lot more.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to consent items. Can I get a motion to approve consent items? I move to approve the consent items. Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passes. So move on to consent items. Motion to approve the bus routes. I move to approve the bus routes. Just a second. Moved and seconded, any discussion on bus routes? Okay, hearing none, proceed to vote, all in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Moving on to our WSBA voting delegate, we need to assign and approve. Oh, I assign, I apologize. I would like to assign Deb for consistency for this year. Do I need to? What's the assignment? Do we need a motion? So, somebody needs to make a motion for my assignment?
To assign.
I assign, get a second. Second my assignment, second. Motion? Assignment? Okay, any discussion? Officially owned? I think Deb did a great job last year, and so she's not here.
And it was brought up yesterday, she didn't specific, I mean, she didn't say anything that made us think she didn't wanna do it.
Right, so, perfect. Not explicitly. All right, let's move on to vote, yes. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. All right, can we get a motion to approve the personal electronic devices policy?
I move to approve the personal electronic devices policy.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
I'm curious, and maybe it's been covered with those parties, but some of the questions that I've heard around this policy are like the coaches needing to let their players know if practice is moved or a game, because all that seems so fluid now, instead of it being, it changes a lot. Is that considered an educational use of their phone, or is there another way that they can do that easily, or?
They can use either email or thrill share and have contact coaches fairly easily. We very much discourage our coaches contacting our students with text message. They should not be at all. All employees, it's against district policy.
And the use of thrill share would be within the guidelines?
Yeah.
Education.
Skillshare is a platform that allows us communication to parents, communication to students that is, goes through filters and is overseen and allows us to protect our employees as well as our students with regard to what communications happen.
Teachers in their planning periods?
I visited with teachers today. The expectation that I put forward, and really honestly, whether this policy is adopted or not, is that we're modeling what we want to see from students. And that expectation is that students don't see us using phones or receiving notifications. It'll be throughout the building for everybody.
And then my other question was, failure to comply with this policy will be treated as defiance. What does that mean?
Defiance is in the handbook as an infraction, and the consequence for defiance right now, first consequence is a couple hours of school service, and it moves up from there. But mostly it'll sit at school service. We've also got some pouches that block cell phone signal, and if students are, say they're using an Apple Watch and constantly receiving notifications, not gonna take a phone away from a kid, just gonna have them, instead of having it in their backpack or in their locker, it'll be in a pouch in their backpack or in their locker, so that we're not seeing that use of earbuds or notifications on the phone.
Go ahead, go.
If we have a staff, if we have 2 or 3 staff members that are, let's say, like EMTs, emergency people type, that get notifications for emergency services, how are we gonna handle that?
Well, I've asked staff to maintain their phones on their person. The notification system that we use for any emergency within the building can operate on our phone. It also uses any iPad or computer type device. So in order to have that, it's gonna be that way. But I guess specific to EMT or fire department type usage, I guess the employee, if they just visit with either Jonathan or I, we can set it up so that they will be able to receive those notifications without having the others that will distract from their day.
Well, I would like to say that this is, I'm excited. I had the opportunity to read The Anxious Generation this summer. And after I listened to it on Libby. But there are a lot of things that were brought up in there that looking forward into like our children's generations, I think that removing that distraction from our educational system is going to only benefit them. So I'm very for this.
I shared the research that Jonathan Hague shares in his book with staff today as probably the biggest justification for moving in this direction for advancement of education for our students. He points out specifically there, but in many papers that have been written since that support that research, when we are in a deep thinking task and are distracted by really anything, but I mean at this point, the vast majority of our minute distractions tend to be notifications on a cell phone, vibrate in your pocket, a ding, a buzz, that type of thing. That pulls your mind away from the task. It takes 23 minutes to return back to that state of focus that you were in, and if we think toward a 48-minute class period, 2 notifications in a 48-minute class period could basically eliminate the ability for a student to be in a state of focused learning. I'm not saying that they can't learn without that, but some of the more intense discussions and the focused learning that we all were able to experience in a world pre-smartphone, our students are missing out.
Any other discussion?
I think this aligns with our goals and all the work that we're doing as a district towards community, as well as life skills, soft skills. Like our younger generations are missing those people skills that are needed in the workforce. And part of it is because they hide behind the screen. So I think this aligns with all of our other goals in the bigger picture as well.
Excellent. All right, let's proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Motion to approve firearms personnel authorized to carry.
Certainly. I move to approve the firearms personnel authorized to carry rule.
Dusty seconded, okay. Moved and seconded, any discussion on this one?
I will reiterate that this is a consequence, or I don't know, consequence is the right word, but of state statute, it is not, we are not saying as a district, everybody bring your guns in. That was not a choice given to us. I know that's still an opinion in the public that the districts are making these decisions, and unfortunately that we didn't have a choice in the matter. Aside of who voted for us, how we voted.
Any other discussion?
I think to extend that, just making sure that the public does know that this is a policy that the board, a rule that the board is choosing to enact that is setting a standard of training for the employees that would like to carry within the building. Absent this rule, there would be no standard for our staff. And currently, per law, there is no standard for anybody but staff, but we are the ones that spend our entire day around kids and have as a part of our employment and responsibility the duty to care for and make sure that students are safe. So I feel the board's making the right move with having trained staff.
Let's proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Can we get a motion to approve personnel action report?
Move to approve the personnel action report.
Moved and seconded, any discussion on this one? Okay, hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We get a motion to approve teacher evaluation system.
I move to approve the teacher evaluation system.
Oh, I'll second it. Too nice.
Moved and seconded, any discussion on this one?
Did have as part of our in-service today and in hopes that the board would approve this evening. I did take an opportunity to spend about 45 minutes training staff on the contents of this and the real import of it was that we have taken many days over the course of the past 2 years in our professional development and in-service and contracting with consultants to come and help to develop our instructional framework and build out the Panther Way. What I was seeing, and I think teachers agreed, was that the Danielson model that we were using as an evaluation system and our framework were diverging a little bit and a little bit more as we dug in and really decided on the things that were important to us and important to our students. And so this evaluation system is really an attempt to close that gap and make sure that what our teachers are being asked to do when we talk about our framework in the Panther Way does not differ from what our evaluation system is marking them on and also asking them to do. Just trying to align.
Any other discussion? Proceed to vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the student handbook?
And
I
then
move to approve the student handbook.
I second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Mrs. Betts has done a lot of work on this, thank you very much. I started playing with formatting and then I decided I should not do that, so if anyone wants me to work on formatting, let me know. There was a picture in the middle of some words that wasn't making sense. So I moved it and actually it's content wise. Didn't have any. Perfect. Okay, let's proceed to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Okay, move to approve the Sheridan County Public Library partnership. I move to approve the Sheridan County Public Library partnership. Moved and seconded, we'll have some discussion now and I'll invite Zach up. If you have anything. I have like a question for you, but if you have a little presentation you would like to do first, that's fine too.
Nothing as fantastic as that, I'll just sit right here, if that's okay?
That's fine.
Perfect. I didn't bring a full PowerPoint, sorry to say. I don't have too much to say and I won't take up too much of your time. But I think we're all going to be doing more with less in the foreseeable future, and I think that this is gonna be a good way for us all to do that. But the basics would be, we would take on the collection that you currently have. We have professionals who will find a use for them. They're not going anywhere. The Claremont branch would have first take on anything that we need to keep. For some things that would either be duplicates, we've already got some ideas planned. I'd kind of like to do a homeschool exchange so that we can get those books into other students who might not be coming to this school. Besides that, we'd like to put in a rotating display for books that your students are going to want to read. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the student's name.
Yes, you choose.
Jesse, like Jesse had pointed out, a digital version of text works just fine, but what we have found over the last 20 years, it is harder to understand information when you are reading on a screen. It is easier for someone who is holding a book to go back and forth. If they don't understand a word, they can save their spot much easier. And so physical print media isn't really going anywhere. And getting books that kids want to read into their hands is really important. And I think we can help you do that, and you can help us do that too. We're also a county library system. Libraries in the state all work by county. So it's the Claremont branch of the Sheridan County Library System. And so all the branches do work together. And delivering books back and forth from branch to branch is something that happens on Monday and Wednesday. To Ranchester and Story, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'd like to add Claremont to Friday as well, but that's a discussion for the library. So it's not just a case of, well, once a month, we're gonna fill up this shelf and then the kids can go wild and we'll just leave them to their own devices. No. If a student wants a book, they just have to let us or your librarian know and we will get that book into their hands. It would be there the next delivery day, if all things go according to plan. I think we'd also like to set up some maybe like an information kiosk in your library, a computer that is dedicated toward accessing the WILD network. WILD spelled with a Y, WYLD. This would be things like our research databases, but you can also sign in with your library card, access your account and place things on hold. So once students are comfortable with the system, they wouldn't even need to directly interact with, say, call the Claremont branch or your librarian. They go to the kiosk, type in their library card number, give them a PIN, put an item on hold, and it would arrive as soon as it's available. Also, I think we have a good opportunity to provide some programming. Not like training, but information and training on how to use library resources. Because honestly, the hardest job from librarians I have found is getting people to understand it's not just books. We provide so much more and we have access to so much more. And so we can all help each other get that access to the students. And yeah, I just think that we could all help each other quite a bit. Yeah, if you have any other questions, just let me know.
I have a couple, yes. So, how many books will be on site in the school library?
We could work that out, but we originally talked about maybe a shelf that would rotate either monthly or maybe every 2 weeks. So I'm not too sure about how many books we would have on site at this location. But if students had the time, I don't know if you have an open campus or how things go, but not that I wouldn't want to be so blasé as like to tell kids, walk down the streets. But if a student had the time, they could go to our library just down the street, and they would have access to all of the material in that branch as well.
I think we had visited a little bit about trying to put a good shelf display together for each kind of grade band.
Yeah.
So like having a K-5 shelf of a good number of books, a 6-8 shelf, a 9-12 shelf of a decent number of books.
Yeah, I think that would be perfect. Not to take up too much space, I know you have to meet priorities, but enough that you can have a student come in, know that there is something for them in their library. And maybe if they've torn through that shelf, they just ask the librarian and we'll get them another book.
Okay. I guess I just envision what was there was going to remain about that size available for students on site.
Yeah, I think the issue we're seeing right now with the number of books that we've got is that we're unable to display books. Libraries, when they set up a display, that they're trying to make sure that student or people can walk in and see what's available. They tend to face books off of the shelf rather than spine all the way stacked. And I've been envisioning that type of a display for each grade level, where rather than having, I don't know how many books we've got shelved spine to spine, where kids can't really see what's available, it will be cover out where they can see every book that we've got in a fairly quick manner. And they can walk in, see the collection, grab a book that they're interested in, check it out and go. I think right now, honestly, the number of books that we've got in the library is keeping students from checking books out oftentimes, because it's more difficult to find a book that they're interested in.
would it be possible to put those, if we downsize the collection that much, to put them on like a every 2-week rotation? So that kids were kind of had access to new stuff here.
Not sure I understand the question.
So like if we downsize the collection that's here.
Yep.
And we put them on display like that, but have those books rotated out with new ones every 2 weeks or so.
I think that's what the library and that's what Zach's proposing, is that the books,
I wasn't sure if that was for the collection here or what's available elsewhere.
Like the collection that we would have here, the display, yeah, we'd like to rotate that out every 2 weeks.
it would be more of a rotation here to make sure that we're constantly having a different set of books available and in front of students so that they're more likely, I think, to, as Jessie mentioned, I really don't think that, she said 7-12, I would say 5-12. We really don't have the numbers of books in the collection or the types of books, or the newness of books that is going to be driving readership. And I think what this opportunity would provide us is that we've got 3 or 4 good-sized shelves of books face out that kids can walk in, they can see there's a bunch of books to pick from. I've got a computer if I want to go through a much more vast collection of the entire state of Wyoming. And they will have access to quick grab reads, and they'll also have access to many more books than we have right now. And once they learn how to use that system,
And we'll help them learn.
So who is going to help them learn that system? And who's gonna help them learn how to, because I mean, basically, I think this is a great idea. I just wanna make sure that we are not shorting our students on the opportunity to like walk into the environment of what a library is. You know, walking into the library here and just having like, this is my shelf for my grade and I can see all the books, versus walking into the Fulmer Public Library and having to pull out a book and see what it looks like, and I might be interested in this one. Or, I mean, in your children's section, you guys have that whole thing where you can flip through the books, right? But then you also have like, we're gonna move up to a little bit, that flipping through the books to me is like what my 4-year-old or 5-year-old would go through. More so, my older children will go to the stacks and start looking through that. So I wanna make sure that we're age appropriate also.
we do have, and this was a point that Zach asked to add in there and we had discussed. Weather and circumstances dependent, I still think it's gonna be important that we have our students go to the library so that those types of activities can absolutely occur.
Okay.
And that we're making sure that the exposure to the vast knowledge that is a library continues to occur for our students on a higher level than it has been.
I just wanna make sure we're still having that important portion.
I think the question,
There's nothing I love more, obviously, you know. I do remember walking to the Fulmer Library for the first time and being like, cool. Because before that, it had just been the school. And I would like to get that, you know, the Claremont branch is not as big as Fulmer, but you can still get that experience, and we would like to give that to the students as well. And yeah, I think it's important for them to also go to the library. And as for who I would get to the training, anyone that I can rope into it. But specifically, we have a outreach sort of department, and that includes off-site programming, the children's librarian is a part of that. We have all sorts of events. I would obviously be doing it. We have the librarian at the Claremont branch who would love to help out. So this wouldn't be just me. We basically have the programming department coming as often as I can cajole them into it, to come and provide whatever we can. It's not just me, I do have.
do you envision, Zach, and I know we had spoken earlier around potentially increasing staffing with some assistance from our end, with some cross-training, et cetera, but do you envision an opportunity where if we're able to schedule it correctly, maybe librarian or someone from your department can come out and maybe one day a month work with students on, rather than checking out books today, we're gonna be learning how to use this system, we're gonna learn how to find books on shelves, that type of thing.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And whether it's like a little field trip and they go over to our library and we have someone there, or having the children's librarian come out here and sort of explain to kids, here's the systems that we have in place, here's how you can access them. I'd also, and the director of the system doesn't have a problem with cross-training teachers. We would not have a problem with the school district having keys to the library and access to it and training teachers, if they're amenable and willing, to the system, so that if a teacher needed access to the library, they could just go over there. We wouldn't have a problem with that.
What do you think on the school end, what do logistics look like of getting students over there? I'm unfamiliar. Do students now have a dedicated library time that you would just have a shorter time because of the walk over there, or what would that look like?
We have had, Jonathan, can you speak to that?
We've had dedicated time in the past, I think as long as 45 minutes. This last year, it was teacher discretion, and so I think at least K through 4th grade, I think they all came once a week. But it was hard because we didn't have the librarian there at the time because of interventions, things like that, but the teachers were trained to use this system here, and so they were able to check out books. And I think I know teachers will still want to have some sort of library time.
Yeah.
It's just our schedules are so different all over, it's not gonna be like probably just a specific time all the time for every teacher.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yeah.
So, you guys are going to assume full ownership, cataloging, and managing of the current collection, which I take as meaning that we no longer have, we essentially no longer own books, right? So then my question to that is, if this might come down to us, if the school decides that the library board is going in a direction that we're not okay with, do we have a voice of opinion on the way that the library board is conducting, since it's influencing our students?
Yes, but I'm gonna put a caveat on that because you already do. You know, the library board is also just like yours. And we want the public, we want the community having a say in their library. That is very, very important to us. It's very important currently to us. However, as for like a formal way of addressing grievances, I guess at its most extreme with the library board, I think that's a question for your bylaws. As an example, the Story Library Board, they have in their bylaws that the current chairperson can just select an individual and make them a liaison to the library board. So the library board loves that stuff. So if that was something that you could do or even add, I don't know how your bylaws work. If you wanted to just appoint someone as a liaison to the library board to go to their meetings and sort of express what you need, they would love that.
Okay.
So outside of just, as for like a formal way, I think that is a question for your school district. But as for an informal way, we thrive and require feedback. And so if you don't like the direction that your library board is going, you go tell them.
Do we have one? No, does this library have its own separate board?
No.
It's just the one in Sheridan, right?
Story is its own bag of worms.
Okay.
Because it's unincorporated and there was an LLC and it owned the land the library was on and it ceded ownership in perpetuity, but with caveats. So they still have their library board from back when it was like a community library. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. It's a bunch of people who are interested in how their library is working and wanna make sure that it works the way that the community needs it to. Here, we work closer with the community center board because the library is located in the community center.
Right.
Yeah, story is its own thing.
Get clarification. I'm still a little lost on this whole thing. I just need a little clarification. You'll come in and go through our library, take all our books that we have in there now
Mhm.
and get rid of them? Is that
Not get rid of, use.
reappropriate?
Reappropriate them, yeah.
Now, will we keep any of our books here of our own that are currently in there?
If you would like to. If that's not something that you're interested in, we'll take a
I'm
look
just
at.
clarifying. I'm
Yeah,
in my own little head trying to, and then you will bring in books for each section, like each grade type thing?
Yeah.
And, like, change it like once a month type thing for the reading?
once a month, every 2 weeks, yeah. So you wouldn't have as many books in the library as you currently do. But over I'd say the course of a year, you would have more unique books in your library. So more access to more chances to access a new book.
Is this something you've done with other districts or is it only?
No, this is brand new for Sheridan County at least. Working with schools is not new, but something of this sort of scale, this is new for the Sheridan district.
Well, I would assume, either of you correct me, but since this is new for both of us, wouldn't this be a fluid thing that you would be meeting regularly to adjust as needed until we figure out how exactly it's gonna work best for both of us?
Oh, yeah.
There are a couple models and it is slightly different, but the other two small schools that I consider small schools, small districts in the state, Ten Sleep and Meeteetse actually have a branch of the county library co-located within the school. So the Meeteetse, if you walk in the side door of the school, you're in the public library, and there's a separate door from the school to the public library. Ten Sleep's got the same thing. And again, vision for that, it's a similar model. It's not a co-location, but it's somewhat of a co-location. I mean, we're bringing the county library into our building to establish a rotating, highly used library for our students and availability of books that they want to read. But we also do have access to, and I'd say better access to than the average citizen, given the opportunity to access whenever we want and check out books for ourselves to the branch of the county library in town.
And I'd say I'm the kind of employee who always answers his phone, so if something comes up and you need to talk to me, just give me a call at any time. Though we would also, I believe in the proposed agreement, a quarterly, sit down is what was proposed, but
Kind of a more formal,
It
just
does
making,
say
For a-
quarterly
making
meetings.
sure that we're getting
for a more
together,
formal thing.
making a review in the partnership and making sure it's doing what we need it to do.
Yeah, and no decision has to be eternal. Things can always change, things can always be more fluid, and so don't think we're set in stone and then we have to, do things as we've agreed. We can always change the agreement, we can make things better, we can improve the services that we're providing.
My other question is just out of curiosity, I'm assuming that the students would then have access to the as well.
They would, yes. And normally I would have, before this point, I would have been reticent to just tell parents, get your kid access to Libby, because Libby's great. But once a student, a minor, had access to Libby, they had access to all of Libby. Which can cause some concerns with a lot of parents, actually it would concern me, with their child suddenly having access to the entirety of the state of Wyoming's catalog. We don't have that concern anymore because Libby finally implemented content control.
Oh, excellent.
So a parent now has the ability and the choice to go in and moderate what their child and student would have access to. So up until now, it was the Wild West. Now that there's content control, we're a lot more comfortable telling parents that this is something that they can use.
So I guess that brings me to another question or comment, I guess, is maybe we need to do training for parents as well.
That sounds like an idea.
I
Offer to make it easy for them.
Yeah. I haven't worked in a school, my only experience was as a student, I get permission slip. You know,
I think she's wanting to make sure that
Yeah.
parents know how to use the safeguards.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely something that we want to make happen, is just, if possible, we could host an evening session that someone from the library come out and say, this is Libby, this is how you utilize these controls, that type of thing.
that is what we do, and we've got flyers made that sort of describe how to access Libby, that we could hand out. We'll amend them to explain how to do content controls and so we can hand those out to parents as well. But yeah, we'd love to come out and talk about the library.
Zach, I think the only concern that I remember from the community participation that we've had to this point that hasn't been addressed is just that content moderation that a parent has within the overall collection, not just within Libby. Can you speak to that a little bit for how parents could set safeguards for what their kids can check out?
Yeah, so this hits a little, the public library is going to be a little different from your school library. Because once a child has permission from their parent to access the library, they have a First Amendment right to access that information. And so parents have to be involved. It's not, unfortunately, like Libby, you can do this, but for the collection inside the physical library, like legally, we are not allowed to comment on what you have checked out.
Can I guess I thought, like, in the, if I get my kid a library card, can I put restrictions for that card?
No,
Okay.
no, a restriction on the card itself is not possible. Libby, yes,
No.
but no, unfortunately. So it is one of those things that parents wouldn't be cognizant of what their children are reading.
Would the school be able to, through listening to parents' desires, restrict what is brought in from the library into our location?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So that's-
No, I'm sorry, I hadn't even contemplated the idea that you would just, that you weren't going to be in control of what we were bringing in.
Okay.
No, that was, yeah, I'm sorry, that was just a base assumption of mine that,
Okay.
like, yeah, we would be working together, but if a parent was like, I don't want books about X, Y, or Z in the school library, I assume that you would listen, we would listen. And yeah, we wouldn't, if someone has an issue with books and they don't want them in the school library, we wouldn't force them onto you.
But they would have the ability to go into the kiosk and request a book that their parents may not approve of.
They would, yes.
Any of us can do that.
So there again, parental involvement,
Yes.
Parental involvement would have to be,
put it
Yeah.
back on the parent, which is great. I think it should be that way.
I always recommend that parents get involved with what their children are accessing.
Perfect.
But yeah, in the example I use is that in the same way you have a Second Amendment right to bear arms inside the library, you have a First Amendment right to access the information in that library as well. That, the Supreme Court says that extends to students.
Extends to minors.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Any other discussion on this? I think this was a good discussion. You had all good answers.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Also, don't run off, because after the meeting, I'd like to just chat with you about that.
Yeah, of course.
If that's fine, if you're,
Oh, I got plenty of time.
awesome. Okay, let's vote on this. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the audit for this last fiscal year?
I move to approve the 2024-2025 district financial audit.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion on this? I think that James did a good job of laying things out for us and
I would also like to say thank you to Greg and Brenda for making their job easy. It's been expressed from multiple angles that they did a great job and made their time here shorter, everything easy to find, I know that's not easy, so.
We also commend both Greg, Brandon, and Lacey did a fantastic job of doing that. Only complaint I've got of the entire process is we went through the summer, and when the auditors were here, Greg cooked amazing food, and other days he didn't.
you cooked amazing food when the auditors were here, but the rest of the time you didn't. That's funny. All right, any
He was
other?
trying to sweet butter him up a little bit.
Any other discussion on this? Okay, let's proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, can I get a motion to either accept or reject the offer for the Arvada school property?
I move to accept the offer from the buyer for the Arena school property.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I think we had a good discussion about this yesterday.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we're all on the same page on based off of the conversation yesterday. All right. Proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Excellent. All right, from the board, Mrs.
I just want to thank, like I said last night, the new FFA teacher was phenomenal at the Johnson County Fair. She was great with the kids. And I want to thank staff for making the school look fantastic. You guys worked so hard and it looks phenomenal. And I'm just really excited for the new year of what we're all going to accomplish.
Mr. Hackett.
I agree.
Devin.
She said what I was gonna say.
Mrs. Little.
I don't know if I have anything to add. It's an exciting time.
I'd just like to say I am excited to see everybody tomorrow at the house party. See what it's all about, because it's like a whole new experience, right? Like, bring your party hats, and I'm excited to get to talk to our staff, parents, and get a feel for the energy going into the school year.
And the kids.
And the kids, they probably aren't interested in talking to me, but yes, but maybe nobody else is, but. Anyway, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. September board meeting, we'll have our first one the 9th, second one the 10th. I will not be.
Yeah.
So Kelly, you're on.
Okay.
I'm going to Indiana for a wedding
That sounds
/
fantastic.
vacation. That's how exciting my vacation gets right now.
My vacations tend to be education conferences, so.
I'm just excited to leave the compound, so. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We are adjourned.